Welcome to the Spinoso Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Alex Spinoso. My experience and expertise is in scaling all types of medical businesses to 7, 8, and even 9 figures. This isn't a podcast telling you you should do this. This is a podcast telling you how I did this, whatever. Let's keep fucking going. I want to help you build your business, take ownership of your life, and become a better leader at home and at work. And so, welcome back to the show, Miss Amanda May.
Thank you.
It's been all of 15 minutes since we recorded our last episode.
I changed my shirt. It's supposed to look like a different day.
I like it. I like the boob window.
Right?
That's classic. So Power Girl is a great, and Mason's over there nodding his head because he knows about Power Girl, that dirty, look at that mustache. He knows, he's like, Power Girl. I like it.
I don't know anything about Power Girls.
You should look up Power Girl. She's she's an awesome superhero Marvel comics. Yeah, Marvel, right? Marvel World. Great comic. I think Sydney Sweeney they're trying to get as the new Power Girl right now. I'm not sure how good that will be. I'm not sure how good of an actress she is. But that being said, is one of the greatest Marvel outfits of all time, for sure.
Well, I think they should have me do it then.
Maybe Rogue. What?
They should have me do it then.
They should have you do it then.
I mean, I don't know. I'm assuming she has a boob window.
Yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I figured that's how that whole thing connected.
Yeah, that's how that whole thing connected. Her outfit is literally all white, cape, boob window. It's awesome.
Fantastic.
Yeah, she's blonde though, so you'd have to like dye your hair.
I mean, for the right amount of money, I would shave it off if you want me to.
I'd be bald. Be bald, Power Girl. I don't care. Pay me whatever. That's how it is. All right. So what are we getting into today? It's episode 2 of our series on founders, huh?
Yeah, we're going to finish or continue our Founders Learning from Founders episodes. And this one is specifically about Jeff Bezos. So what's really cool about this, whether you like him or don't, or, think that, you're sad because your neighborhood bookstore went extinct. The reality is he turned efficiency and his customer obsession into really an art form. And we're going to dive into what he did and how he did it and the 5 core principles that helped him scale, operate, and define how he built this $1 trillion company. I mean, it's insane what he's been able to do and how he's done it. And so we're going to learn. We're going to learn from this founder today. So we're going to dig into the top 5 things that made him so successful.
Let's do it. This is going to be great. I love Jeff Bezos' story. It's awesome. He gives 0 fucks.
Yeah, he does.
Let's do it.
But he does, and he doesn't, because he very much cares about the customer experience and making sure they have something that 10 years down the road, they're still going to want.
Absolutely.
He said,
100%.
He said in an interview, 10 years down the road, somebody is not going to go, wow, I wish I paid more for my products.
Mm-hmm.
Or I wish it took me a little bit longer to get things when I ordered them.
Yeah.
People are never going to say that.
Yeah, exactly.
So he has solved a problem that 10 years down the road, people are still going to be very happy about.
Yep.
Smart. It's super smart.
Yep.
And that's the first lesson, is that he obsesses over the customer, and he doesn't compete with what other people are doing. He listens to the customer, and then he does everything he can to implement those things and bring what the customers are asking for. It's brilliant, and it's simple, and it's customer first. I mean, that's what our businesses should be about. And he said it 1,000 times in every interview he ever does, is that they're a customer obsessed company, and that they're not competitor obsessed. I mean, at this point, I question his competitors, if there are any, because
right.
The competition is what, going to Walmart?
Yeah, exactly.
Going to Target. That doesn't feel like competition these days. And he's really set the stage, because Amazon Prime, 2-day shipping. I mean, I order stuff sometimes at like 6 or 7 o'clock at night, and I have it the next morning at 4 a.m. Like, they're working around the clock to get you stuff. I have it not even 12 hours later. It's at my door. I'm not even awake yet.
Yep.
By the time I thought I needed it, before I actually need to use it, I've got it.
Mm-hmm.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's very cool. I love it.
Mm-hmm.
Makes life so much more simple for me. It's like Christmas every day.
Yeah.
boxes,
And there's
boxes of Amazon.
And there's those entrepreneurs out there who are like, support small businesses and we love small businesses and I won't shop at Amazon. All right, cool. Like I don't care. I don't need to know where you shop. I'll shop at Amazon for you. It's okay. Like I want my problem solved as fast as possible with a quality product. If that means I got to go to Amazon to find a quality product and buy something as fast as possible, then I will. I'm not going to go on Amazon and buy something that's, custom made that I can't get on Amazon.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? People just want their problem solved and problem solved faster. And we've talked about this on episodes before. There's only three things that people want in a service. They want the service without any type of mistakes or issues. They want it as fast as they possibly can, and they want it with a smile. If you're doing e-commerce, you don't have to even worry about the smile part. You
Well,
just have to
Amazon has
service.
that covered because you get a big smiley face
Oh,
on the
the
box.
smiley face with the arrow, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, there you
They
go.
got the smiley face
They
covered.
don't give a shit. They don't care whether you look at that or not. That's why they make the box like 17 by 17 feet, and it's an SD card that's inside of it.
That's
They don't care.
funny.
They don't care. But no, that's his genius where most entrepreneurs and I think most people in general, business owners in general, will buy things and do things to impress others and to say, "Hey, I'm doing this. Look at me," rather than serving their people. What's best for their people, whether that's their teammates or whether that's their clients. Bezos did not care if you liked him at all. He only cared if you came back. He only cared if you were a recurring client. He only cared if you were on his team, focused on exactly what he is trying to do and trying to grow. You're right. He didn't give a fuck about what people thought for the most part, but he gave a whole lot of fucks about what the client experience and what the client thought of them. It was always client first. And there's a great book on this, actually, if you haven't read it. It's The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck.
I read that.
Great book.
Yeah.
And the whole book is about not giving a fuck, really, but it's giving a whole lot of fucks about the right things. It's not giving a fuck about all the things that don't have any effect on your business, your life, etc., but truly giving a lot of fucks, all your fucks, if you will, to whatever fucks you have to give to something that's going to improve your life or improve your business or whatever. So that's the premise of that book, and that's really the premise of kind of how Jeff Bezos built his business, is that he really focused on the customer experience, what they could do to provide a better experience, a faster customer experience. And you're right, all those things that they've developed and improved upon have been to get their products into the hands of their clientele faster, service their clientele better. It's in the medical world, in the med spa world, the medical clinics, that membership is the same thing. Like, how can we make this group of people feel special, get them in faster for their appointments, get their follow-ups done better? All those things is how memberships are created, or why memberships are created in businesses. So you're looking around at your business, look at the pain points that take forever, the issues that take forever, the breakdowns that take forever. And I addressed this with our executive team the other day, where there's this whole push for artificial intelligence and AI responding to text messages and phone calls and stuff like that. And there are some people that say, well, aren't you worried about losing humanity part of it and stuff? No, we'll still have plenty of people in the brick and mortar, still have plenty of people answering the phones. But if I were to call a business and an AI receptionist can solve my problem faster than a human can, that's what I want. I want my problem solved faster. I don't want somebody to tell me, oh, I feel really bad about that, and then not being able to solve it. I don't care if the robot has a robotic voice, but they're like, "Yes, I can solve that problem." Like, I would be like, "Yeah, fuck yeah, robot." Like, totally. People just want their problem solved. It's the customer service aspect of it. It's focusing on the customer and what the customer wants. If you can deliver something excellent to the customer or solve their problem faster, it doesn't matter whether it's a robot or a human on the other side of the line. 24/7, you're not going to be able to. You can get humans on it 24/7, but there's a lot of logistics to it. There's a lot of issues with that. And so if it's just text messaging back and forth, let the AI do it 24/7. Never sleeps. Can push leads and people to where you need them to be and make sure they solve their problem. When they have their problem, they message you about their problem.
Yeah, a common thread between two of the most richest men in the world, Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos, is they both have a bend toward technology and AI, and it's embedded in the things that they're doing. And so, there's something to be said for there, more efficiency, less mistakes, like the fact that what you're talking about, being able to solve somebody's problem at any point that they call in. So we launched in Genesis, we launched an app that would allow people to purchase packages or set their appointments or like even aesthetics services and stuff through the app, and they could do it at any time. What we discovered in doing that is people were making purchases at 10 o'clock at night. We're not going to have people in our clinics at 10 o'clock at night. We
Right.
can't solve your problem at 10 o'clock at night if you decide you want Botox 2 days from now, because you're going to have to wait until we're back in the clinic.
Right.
So, the ease of being able to give people what they need when they need it, AI is an incredible way to do that, especially if you can customize it. And AI has made so many advancements in the last even year that things are becoming smoother and easier for people to actually use it and get their problem solved, even if it's an AI bot doing it.
Exactly.
So that's something to pay attention to when it comes to, two people that are super successful are utilizing AI throughout their entire company. So like where can you do that? Now going back to, and that really does talk to the customer first. Whether you like AI or not, the customer wants to be able to book an appointment at any time they're thinking about it. So customer first, give them what they're wanting, what their pain point is. Maybe they work all day. Maybe they're at home with kids all day and they don't have a chance to actually think about themselves until everyone else is asleep and they don't have any other responsibilities and they're laying there in bed like, oh my God, I just, need some microneedling. Well, if you can solve that problem for them right there, then you're doing what you set out to do by having a company.
Yep.
What do you think a customer pain point is that most people and med spas maybe specifically overlook?
So there was a study done by Allergan, which is the company who invented and runs Botox. And they said that there are really the top two main reasons someone will go and get Botox and never come back again are, number one, they weren't educated on the process. And number two, budget was not respected. Those are the top two reasons why someone will never come back after getting Botox with a client. And if you extrapolate that to almost any service or any product, number one, you have to make sure that you're educating your client on your product. Why is your product better than anybody else? Why is your service better than anybody else? Why should they go to you? Educate as much as you possibly can. And you should be able to educate on why you're better, why your service is better, et cetera. If you can't, then you don't have a product that's going to win because it's not better. It doesn't solve a problem faster, et cetera. So that's number one. Number two, when it comes to the budget, that means that your service might not be for everyone. Now, if your service is, I don't know, $4.99 a month, it could be it could be for everyone. But if your service is, $250 a month, it's not going to be for everyone. It's going to be for people that can afford it. And that's okay. You don't have to have a inexpensive, moderately expensive, and a super expensive product. You don't. If your product is a premier product and that's what you created and that's what you want and that's what your business is, then you can lean into that. That's it. I mean, there is the Koenigsegg vehicle where each one of them are hand built. It takes years to hand build them. And I think they start at like $4 million. And they only make, I think, 20 to 30 vehicles a year, right? Same with like a Bugatti. Everybody knows that name more. And then there's also like the Honda. Koenigsegg and Bugatti don't say, well, we should definitely make a cheaper version so that we can have all these other people afford it. they say, hey, these are for ultra rare people who want something ultra rare in terms of a vehicle and want to choose everything about it. And that's okay. And then you got Honda, who's just like, we're just going to pump out a whole bunch of vehicles because we want to make sure that everybody can afford a vehicle and drive a vehicle. So your brand is whatever you want it to be. Just make sure that your quality matches that. I mean, there's a huge difference in quality from a Koenigsegg and a Bugatti than there is like a base level Honda Civic or Accord or whatever. There's a massive difference. So make sure that your service, whatever you're delivering, is that level if you're going to charge people more for it. But at the same time, that's what business owners, I think, miss, is that they want price point for everyone. They want a discount for everyone. They don't feel like they can charge what they wanna charge. It's just like, look, you put your pricing out there. If people come, people come. If they don't, they don't. Like, if they don't come, then your business is not worth your service is not worth what you're trying to charge.
Education is so big with everything, especially, when we were talking about Botox, the example that you used, educating somebody about why you're even using the amount of Botox in the areas that you're using it in. Like, being mindful of their budget. Okay, you have this much to spend. So what that means is we can target this specific area. Maybe we don't target these areas, but with this area looking better, you probably won't even notice the other areas, but like letting them know your thought process about the treatment plan. And then even, I mean, because I was an injector in our clinics for a while. And so what does that look like? Hey, I'm gonna place it like this. It takes just a few seconds to educate somebody. So now they know the reason behind it. So if they go home and they go, "Okay, that wasn't quite what I thought," or, "My one eyebrow sits up a little higher than the other." They know your thought process, and then when they come back, it's not like, "Oh, that person just did a bad job." Like, "Oh, okay, I understood why you did it the way you did it, but now this one eyebrow needs to sit a little lower."
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's
Yep.
like it becomes a collaboration more so than just someone randomly doing something on you and you not understanding it and not liking it and then just being like, they aren't any good. Because that's the assumption they're gonna make. Well, they just don't know what they're doing.
Yep.
Where if you explain the process, and even if something doesn't come out 100% the way the client wanted, it gives you the opportunity to continue the conversation and then correct it and make it right so
Yep.
they're happy the next time.
Exactly.
This brings me to customer focused, but not customer controlled.
Mhm.
We had a conversation in a recent meeting about the price point and quantity of one of our supplements, where customers were saying, this supplement and this supplement cost the same thing, but I only get half the amount of pills in this bottle than I get in this bottle. So, where does the balance come in where you go, okay, the customer wants double the product, and we wanna listen to what the customer's saying. At what points do you go, "Okay, we customer focused, but we're not gonna make decisions solely on just feedback that the customers are giving us." So not
Okay.
being controlled by what they're saying.
So Bezos had a great insight on this, and nobody would know that they had this insight except Kevin O'Leary recently shared it on a podcast episode, talking about Bezos and talking about Elon Musk and things like that, but specifically for Bezos. In that Kevin, and I'll butcher the interaction, but to a degree, Kevin was talking to Jeff and was asking him or telling him, "Hey, like, the customer will probably say this or want this or, you know, yada yada, something about the customer and what they wanted." And Jeff just simply looked at him and said, "The customer will want what I tell the customer they want when they want it." And it's such a powerful statement is because and it's because he was customer obsessed, but not customer controlled. Like, he was going to deliver the customer what they needed before they even knew what they needed. He delivered things that the customer needed, not what they wanted. And so you'll have people, and we teach our sales team this, you'll have people that come in and say, "I want this. I want this amount of Botox. I want this treatment. I want this service." And you have to train your team and your staff to say no. Like, "No, I'm not doing that." Not because it's illegal or anything like that, but simply because that's not going to give you the result that you think it's going to give you. And that's a education, a truthfulness part of it, but also not being customer controlled. If people come in and say, I want this, this, and this, and they don't qualify for those things, we'll say, well, we'll do this because you qualify for this, but these other two you don't qualify for. I can't treat you with that, or it's not going to get you the results you need. And we'll make sure we stand on business and tell them no, absolutely not. And if they get upset about it, okay, go find someplace else. But 90% of the time, they're not going to be upset because you're saving them money or you're telling them and educating them on the process, the direction that you want them to go in so that they get the best results. That's being customer obsessed, not customer controlled. Because the customer, they don't always know what they need. They know what they want, but they don't know what they need to achieve those results. We give them what they need and we educate them on what they need, and you should do the same in your business. No matter what they're trying to do, you should educate them on what they need, not necessarily what they want.
Yeah, and we're not talking about underselling for the sake of underselling, but
Yeah.
if it means you're underselling a service, they're going to respect you more because they're gonna realize they're not just a sale or a price tag, that you actually have their best interest at heart.
Yep.
And I see posts of women who have been completely overfilled with fillers and neuromodulators and all the things, and my first thought is like, who did that to you? Who was okay giving you that much filler in your face? Like, they're not looking out for you. So you should definitely not go back to them from the med spa side. Okay, back to Jeff Bezos and the things that we can learn from him. I love this concept. And I was actually thinking about it this morning on my drive here. He believes you stay in day one mode. So you stay in the mindset that this is day one, that it is not like that the energy is day one, that we're not defined by things that we've done in the past, that our past successes and failures have nothing to do with what we're going to do today, that every single day is a fresh day to make new decisions for the direction of your company and the people that you're serving. I thought about this with Genesis, and I thought about, what if we pass that on to the team? Like, what if that was, the mundane, because the clinics can get very busy. They're seeing
Mhm.
hundreds of patients a day. It's a lot. It can be super stressful. You're dealing with a lot of personalities and a lot of clients and, things that go well and things that don't go well. It's a lot. And so it's like, how do you keep that fresh energy, that excitement? Like when they started day one, feeling the excitement that they felt that day, every single day that they walk in.
Yeah.
What would that feel like
Mhm.
with the culture of the company?
Yep.
And I think it's a really great mindset to go back to, because it keeps you focused on the fact that everything's experimental. You stay hungry. Think about day one, everything you're doing, like even day one of a diet. If you're on a diet or an exercise regimen, like you're hungry for it. You're like, yes, I'm going to do this. And, that energy permeating through your business every single day, year after year, is like, you're going to explode at some point with one, you're going to create what you're putting out. So all that good energy is going to come back.
Mhm.
Clients are going to feel that. But it's going to create massive success,
Yeah.
and minimize complacency.
So Jeff in his shareholder letter, he wrote in 2016, and this is the shareholder letters are always public, so I totally encourage you to go read, Jeff Bezos's shareholder letters, Steve Jobs' shareholders letters. They're all very, very awesome letters to read. But he wrote, "Day two is stasis, followed by irrelevance, followed by excruciating decline, followed by death." That's how he felt that day two is. So day one for him was always, this is a new start. This is the beginning. This is where we're going. We have a long, now, my friend Andy has on his wall, we have a long way to go and a short time to get there. And it's, he posts all the time and talks to his team all the time in terms of it being day one. Like we're just getting started. We're just beginning. Genesis is just 6 years old. really the way it is nowadays. It is just getting started. We're just launching national telehealth. We're just launching national supplement brand. We're just launching all these other verticals that we have in our business. We're just acquiring and setting up, pharmaceuticals and that part of our company. I mean, we see this as the beginning of what is the Procter and Gamble of the medical field, being able to own all parts of the medical field, growing into this behemoth, and it is day one. We are at the beginning of that right now, the beginning stages of that. That mindset rejects any type of complacency whatsoever. There's always something bigger to strive for. There's always more people. And I was asked, I think, by my dad one time. He said, "When's enough enough?" And I said, "Well, there will never be enough because there's always more people that I can hire and help and grow and things like that. It'll never be enough." So when you stop thinking like a startup and you stop innovating like a startup and you stop moving like a startup, then you die like an old school corporation that takes 20 different levels of decision making to do anything. And that was one of the things that Apple did very well. Um, and Amazon does very well as well, is that they have a small group of thinkers and a small group of decision makers that control everything that Amazon and Apple does. So, and more specifically for Amazon, even down to the financial side. I think Jeff is seen in an interview that I listened to. He talks about the financial side of Amazon. Even though it's a massive behemoth, I think they grew to billions of dollars with like 9 to 10 people only in their financial side, doing billions and billions of dollars in revenue for with 9 to 10 people on their financial side, and that was it. And the people who made decisions were like 3 of those people.
Mhm.
Everybody else just kind of followed what those 3 people did. The concept of the smaller your team is and the higher educated they are, the faster you can move. Instead of having 20 people in a room that are just like kind of knowledgeable about something, they're going to argue, they're all going to have differences of opinions of how things should go. If you have 3 people in a room and they're very educated, they can get through things faster, come to a decision quicker, and then move forward much, much quicker. And having that mindset of staying small, staying nimble, even when your revenue is millions, hundreds of millions, billions of dollars, that is extremely important when you're growing. That day one mode, always going back to it, becomes more difficult as you grow in your income and you grow in your business. Going back to like, okay, I need to go back to where I was before in my mindset. You need to go back as a leader and say, okay, where was I 5 years ago? Where was I 10 years ago? What kind of income was I making? What kind of life was I living? And if you're living a better life now, great. Keep going in that direction, keep pushing and realize, okay, today's day one of the rest of my life. And it's like that. It should be like that every single day. Every single day. There's an old Irish saying, may the best days that you've had today be the worst days of your tomorrows.
I've heard that before. In an interview, I heard him say that 2 10 players that do not know how to make decisions will not get you as far as 2 9 players that are great decision makers. And so he was discussing in it the balance of hiring really great people, but also knowing that the people that you hire, they should be great, but they should be able to make decisions at the higher level. Then, you don't have to have the best of the best if those people don't know how to make decisions and move the company forward. And I kind of heard that as like the decision making outweighs some of the expertise. Can you make a decision? Can you stick with it? Can you, push forward, move the needle, with your position every day? And that's the important part is people on a team that can make decisions that are A players, but maybe they're not A plus players.
Yep.
Sometimes the A plus players get stuck in maybe old ways of thinking and stuff like that. So recognizing that the decision-making process is a key element to somebody who can actually move the needle forward in your business.
Absolutely.
What do you feel like, you do to keep Genesis, like our teams, the people that have been in it for a long time, keep them from getting lazy when our numbers are up?
The way to keep people from being lazy when numbers are up is to, I mean, first off, are you bonusing or providing them some sort of life improvement with your numbers being up? Like, are you making sure that it benefits them in some sort of way for the numbers to be up? At the same time, Genesis is always innovating. We're always trying to do the new thing and improve upon something. And when numbers are up, it just means that Brent and I have extra money to be able to pour into Genesis to grow it. We'll hire better people, grow more positions, buy certain new machinery and roll that out. So when your numbers are good and you are in the black, you have to look around. And this is if you want to. If your numbers are good and you're in the black and you're sharing it with your team and you don't want to grow anymore, then that's fine. But we want to grow. We want to continue to grow. We want to be the biggest medical group wellness company in the country, the biggest wellness company in the country. And so that being said, every extra dollar we have, we're going to put back into services, innovations, procedures, processes that are going to grow the company. And your team needs to see that. Your team needs to see that you're always innovating, always improving. So even when the numbers look good, you reward them, you say they're doing a great job, and then you say, "Hey, we're going to grow this part of the business. We're going to grow this next part of the business." And that's what stops people from being, I think, complacent when the numbers are looking good. You just keep pouring it on.
Yeah. Think about the new people that we've brought on to Genesis and how fresh it is.
Yeah.
I've gotten text messages from multiple people on the team, like how excited they are to work with our new VP of operations.
Mhm.
They're just like, I cannot wait to learn from her.
Yeah.
Like, they're so excited about it. And yeah, it's a great way pouring into, fresh perspective, whether it be leadership teams or tools that you're giving your teams or, innovative services, all of that stuff. That's great. What do you think like day 2 for you? Have you ever had this thought process, day 1 versus day 2? And what does day 2 feel like for you? What do you
Yeah.
think about that?
So, yes, because my mentor, Andy, he uses this a lot too, day one. And I've used it a lot for, just talking about my life and how we're just getting started. You always have to tell yourself you're just getting started. As an entrepreneur, as a leader, you should always be telling yourself, hey, this is just the beginning. This isn't the end. This is just the beginning. This is just another step. And day 2 for me feels like the athlete who peaked in high school and is still got a job around the high school and goes back to their high school reunion every single year, or in college, the college guys who love their fraternity, so they go back to their fraternity every single year for homecoming, or like the girl who was super popular in high school and that's all she remembers is high school. It's like those people who say that their high school or their college were the best days of their lives, that's what day 2 is to me. Oh, those are the best days of my life. That's where I had the most fun. That's where I just had the it was just so great. Like, and they live in that and they remember that. And they're like, "Remember that time when we were," and most of the time I'm like, "No, I have no fucking clue what you're talking about. Like, I cannot remember that." Or those are great days, but they were not the best days of my life. I don't look at any of the past days that I've had as the best days of my life moving forward. When my kids were born, it was a phenomenal day. It was a great day, but it wasn't the best days of my life because I couldn't play with them or do anything, or I don't have like any memories. They were just screaming little whiny bitches wanting milk. Stupid babies. But no, it's like it was an amazing time, an amazing day, but it wasn't like the best day of my life now, because the best day of my life now is like hanging out with them and listening to them talk and seeing them love the world for what it is. And same thing with with my wife, Steph, like being married to her, getting married was not the best day of my life. It was a phenomenal day. It might have been the best day up till that point, but now it's not. Going forward, it's not. And it's like I believe day 2 is that. Day 2 is going and looking back at your business and saying, those were the best days of our lives. That's where we had the most innovation. That's what we did the most. Or being a leader in your business and thinking like, well, that year was the year that I did the most. I was the best. I was the high school athlete that scored the most goals. Like looking at those old things, going back to those old things and thinking those were the best days, that for me is day 2.
That's a powerful visual.
Yeah,
I think we can all connect with that. Yeah, I don't
absolutely.
even save, like, awards or anything I've ever done. When I moved to
Yeah,
Texas, I got rid of everything, like 15 years of magazine articles and awards,
yeah,
whatever. I was just like, I don't want any of this.
yeah.
This has nothing to do with where I'm going.
No,
Like,
I don't.
what I'm gonna do next is way bigger than all of this stuff, so I'm not carrying this shit around with me.
Yeah.
Like, it's gotta
That's the one thing I hate
gotta
about
go.
that's the one thing I hate about doctors and medical people in general, where they hang their diplomas on the wall. Like, you notice I don't have any of my diplomas on the fucking walls at all. They're actually in the garage in a box. For my residency, for my college, for my med school, they're all down, in the box in the garage. Why? Because I don't need to hang that up. Like, yeah, the letters after my name show you what the fuck I was or I am, like, and what I did. I don't need a letter. I don't need a piece of paper on the wall that says how awesome I am. You're coming to me to see me, to hang out with me, to do business with me, in our in and because of the letters at the end of my name,
Yeah.
etc. So, that is day 2 for me. Day 2 is people who hang up their diplomas on the wall. That's day 2 because they're living that. They're like, "Oh, I accomplished that one thing at one point in time." Cool. And you could be yeah, happy about it, yes, but for me, it's unnecessary.
Yeah.
Like, I have all these day 1s right here on this shelf here. All these are day 1s essentially of things I've done, experiences I've had, the first speaking gift, the first speaking gig, the first gift I've gotten to speak on stage, different historical things. Uh, every part or every business that I've been a part of or started has like a little token on here. Mastermind groups, things that I've spoken, like all these are all day 1s here, and day 2 would be looking at these and being like, that was the best day of my life.
Mm,
That's day 2s for me, for
mm,
sure.
so good.
Living in the past.
All right, going back to decision making, and I touched on this a moment ago. The third key point is make high velocity decisions. So going back to his push for speed and what he calls decisions are two-way doors. So reversible, if they don't work, you can walk back out it and you go to a different door. And he talks about those decisions being ones that like lower level tier team members can make that, those don't actually get made at the highest executive level because the highest executive level is focused on those one-way doors, the doors that when you make a decision, it's going to impact the business or be very hard to change. And I think about that when we roll out like a new platform or system, CRM, things like that. I mean, we have to do it on a small scale to figure out if it's going to work before we launch it into the whole company. Because once you get all 40 locations moving a direction
Yeah.
with something like that is very hard if it's the wrong decision
Mhm.
to shift direction. So
Yep.
that's something that takes a lot more time. And those things are better left at the executive level, steering the full ship of where it's going. But if the decision is a two-way door decision, allowing other people within the company to make it, learn what they need to learn, and then you just make a different decision if it didn't work out. But the momentum of what gets built when you're making decisions quickly, that it doesn't have to be perfect, but it does get you further.
Yeah.
So being willing to take those steps when it's necessary. How do you balance the speed and efficiency? Because you are all about now, urgency. We've
Yep.
talked a lot on this
Momentum.
podcast about urgency. And so, how do you balance the urgency and speed with quality control?
That's a difficult question because you're not gonna have the highest quality control when you're moving at speed. You're going to quality control will be developed as you move fast. So Jeff's concept was move fast, correct fast. And it's the same in all of my businesses. In Genesis, we're gonna innovate, we're gonna try something out. If it doesn't work, we're gonna pivot and try something out differently. And we're going to continuously do that over and over and over. And you're going to make a lot of mistakes, but your mistakes will be made faster and you can correct them faster.
Mm.
The same thing's going to happen. And literally the same amount of mistakes are going to happen if you move slow. If you move slow, you're going to still make the same mistakes that you would make if you were moving fast because your knowledge of the problem and everything that you learn about the problem is going to be the same. Like you can learn really fast about a problem and solve it really fast. And you can learn really slow about a problem and you'll probably have the same amount of knowledge as if you moved fast,
Mm.
but you just moved a lot slower and you did the same thing. And guess what? You got to the same end result. You had the same problems along the way because a lot of times you can't anticipate the problems you're going to have at all unless you've gone through them before until you go through them. Like you don't learn about business by having an MBA. I have one. You don't really learn about business and growing a business and having a team and a community and a mission and vision and et cetera until you do it. So I could have learned all I wanted about it. I have a 2.5 year long degree in business, but it didn't help me solve all the problems or not make the mistakes of running a business at all. It just postponed me running a business and then having the same freaking problems no matter what. So move fast and correct fast. So when you are moving fast, yes, you're going to have some quality control, but as you're correcting things, you're boosting the quality control through it.
So fail fast.
Fail fast.
Fail fast.
Fail fast, fail often.
And that's interesting, right? Because we use the word fail, but it's all a lesson, it's all a learning. So something didn't work out, but it does. I mean, we label it a failure, but it's not really because your mindset makes a difference. If it's a failure and you're like, "Woe is me," I'm no good, I'm worthless, whatever talk could be, the mental conversation you're having. If that's the conversation, then yeah, it's a failure. But if it's like, okay, now I know not to do that again, and here's what I learned, and here's what I'll do different next time, and it's going to make me more efficient or wiser in business in the future, then that's not a failure.
Mhm.
That's a lesson.
Yep.
And so yeah, we can call it a failure, but the reality is if you're doing it quickly and you're learning from it and you're not doing the same things over and over and over, then it's not really a failure anyway, even if it is catchy to say fail fast.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah.
Learn fast.
Get it done. Get it done. Go, indecision will kill businesses way more than just moving forward. So move forward with 70% of the information you wish you had. And that is 100% better than not moving forward at all. And then you become obsolete or a business that people are passing you by.
Yeah. Another point that Jeff focuses on and talks about a lot is thinking long term. Now, there was a time in business where 5-year plans were like the thing. I remember when I first started business, it was like my first coach, you got to have a 1-year plan, you got to have a 3-year plan, 5-year plan, and it's like now that I'm like more advanced in my business journey, I'm going like, even a 1-year plan doesn't make any sense because you're not going to know. You can have a vision. Okay, yeah, I know where I want to go. You got the direction, but you're not going to know exactly what's going to happen 9 months from now. Because if you are making those quick movements, right? Like you're learning quickly, you're making those decisions fast. You have no idea what's going to happen in 9 months because every one of those decisions could totally change the trajectory of where you think you're going. When we're thinking long term, it's not a 1-year, a 3-year, a 5-year plan. Jeff focuses on what happens a decade from now, what happens 2 decades from now. And at the beginning, I referenced a conversation I heard him, an interview he was on where he was talking about solving people's issues now that he knows they're still going to be happy about in 10 years. He's not solving the issue now like I'm just going to give them what they're asking for now. He's going like, okay, wait a minute, how do I solve this problem? So 10 years down the road, they're still like, great, I get my product in, 12 hours at my doorstep. Like people are not going to be unhappy about that in 10 years,
Yep.
20 years. People are still going to be happy about it.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know how much faster it could get, but it might. Who knows?
Yeah.
We'll see. Maybe every product that you order on Amazon ends up at your door within 12 hours.
Yeah.
But
I think that's their goal, really.
Yeah, but not thinking in quarters
Mhm.
and really thinking decades from now, what does that mean? Coming from the medical space, well, mine is like the beauty aspect, because I've spent so many years in beauty. I've seen so many trends when it comes to beauty techniques. Some things that I'm like, 10 years down the road, you are not going to be happy about what that looks like.
Yeah.
Like, and I would tell my clients that. And that's some of the things that, when it talks about educating, we talked about at the beginning of this, educating your customer. Like, what you think you want isn't really what you want, because that's not gonna be good later down the road.
Yep.
And there were times, young girls, 20 years old, wanting, like, a full syringe or 2 syringes of
Mhm.
filler in their lips, and I'm like, in 10 years, your lips are going to be so stretched out, and you
Yeah.
have to keep getting more and keep getting more and keep getting more. Like, you have no idea what this means later on.
Mm.
Or, when you're getting your eyebrows tattooed, if you're using a certain kind of pigment or you do a certain technique and you've got a skin type that doesn't really work well on, in 10 years, that's gonna look terrible. You're gonna have to get your eyebrows lasered. Like, do you realize what that means for you later down the road? And
Yep.
so that was always something that I felt like was super important to educate my customers about, even for them. Like, I'm building my business now, but it's also so 10 years from now, you're still happy that you came to me.
Mhm.
I don't do those things anymore because of the way my career has progressed, but that mindset goes really far when it comes to creating something that is lasting, which is what we've talked about with our skincare brand and the things that people are going to need long term.
Yeah.
And when I'm talking to when we're doing B2B sales and we're talking about life PRP, people ask me about, what do you think about this type PRF or Easy Gel or all these other things, and I always go back to the same thing. What's tried and true? What do you know is going to last you,
Mhm.
that you're not having to switch to the next trend because they figured out that thing doesn't really work the way that they marketed it?
Yep.
Like, stick with what you know works and deliver the same thing for a long period of time to
Right.
people. And, that's where his mindset is, and he's solving people's problems today that they're still gonna be happy about decades from now.
Exactly.
He plays the long game.
Yeah, like Brent and I have done, and now I coach other businesses and all the other businesses that I'm in. I'm always bringing up and talking about is that Jeff it says your margin is my opportunity. He sees other fields of business and what they're producing something for and what they're selling it for has a massive gap. Like there is some businesses that are marking up some of these things 1,000, 2,000, 3,000%. And he realizes, okay, well, if I can produce because I'm big, I can produce the same product and mark it down to where I'm marking it up 100%. So I'm getting 50% if it's and for guys for math, if it's a $10 item and he sells it for $20, that's 100% markup. So he's taking that same item that is being made for $10, sold for $100, and he's making the same exact product and selling it for $20, and he realizes that he's okay with breaking even or losing money for a long period of time to bury his competition.
Mm.
And that's genius because Hormozy said in an interview that business isn't about competing and beating everybody else. It's about surviving longer than everyone else because everybody has their day in the sun and everybody is like Icarus when your day in the sun melts your wings and you start plummeting towards the ocean. Everyone does. Every business does. And Jeff realizes that. And now Jeff has got deep, deep pockets where they can go into a field and absolutely dominate it and sit there negative for 5, 10, 15 years getting all the clientele so that all their competition closes.
He did that with his home goods section
Yeah.
of Amazon. They started offering the Amazon Basics home goods stuff,
Yep.
and it made 0 money for a very long time.
Yeah.
But it was that exact thing. His mindset was all the people looking for home goods, now I attract them into the business
Yeah.
with a better price point, but now I can sell them all these other things that they're looking for too. So I might not
Yeah.
make money on that vertical, but I'm gonna make money on that same person in other places.
Yeah.
So he was fine breaking even or losing money because eventually,
Yep.
like, those customers did still bring him a profit.
Yeah, the competition went bankrupt. Container Store went bankrupt. He did it with toys. Toys R Us went bankrupt. He'd done it with multiple fields over and over, and people can complain about it all you want and say it's a monopoly all you want. That's what I wanna do in the medical field. I wanna do that to all my competitors, and that's what we do in our B2Bs is that we control the cost of goods for things so that we know our businesses will have the best cost of goods with the highest level of product, and your margin is my opportunity. You piss me off enough, and you keep pushing your prices high enough, the big boys are gonna go create their own shit. That's why all the biggest companies in the medical field, they have their own pharmacies. Hims, Row, Game Day Men's Health, they own their own pharmacies, and they're doing their own drugs because they're big enough to do that. We're big enough now to create these businesses and use our profits to go and create these businesses and then lower our prices to be better than anybody else's, not only in the brick and mortar side, but also on the B2B side. So we get everybody else's clinic and everybody else's business as well. And our competitors over time will go away. And so that is a play that Bezos did. He thinks in 20-year arcs, not in how much money am I going to make this quarter, this day, how much can I pull off the table, what's in it for me. He looks at it as what's the best for the business and what's going to help the business grow over a long period of time. And so that's how he dominates everybody. And that's how you build an empire. He stomached the delayed gratification in those fields to start taking over those fields one by one by one. He started with books. That was it. And now, like you said, he's got home services. They have the good thing about the medical field is that's really difficult to get into and really license heavy. So their Amazon healthcare has like gone flat. Have fun in my fucking world. But there are other things that, from the home goods to toys to just like computer stuff now, things like that. And they're selling all those things on Amazon. Even skincare now, they're selling on Amazon. And they're burying their competition because that's part of them winning.
Yeah.
That's their culture.
It's staying true to the vision even when things are tight. Because when you're a business owner and things are tight, it can feel like very like honed in and you're dealing with the day-to-day, like how do we just keep this thing afloat? And you have to recognize you have to take that broader perspective so that you can see long term and stay focused on that. But I think that's also in the setup of it. You can't think of your business, especially at the beginning, like a bank account. Like your business, it should be something that's sustaining, not your lifestyle, but sustaining itself and has the room for scalability and growth. And if you're constantly having to take out of the business for your own lifestyle, and maybe that means living below your means. I mean, we're going to talk about in some other, well, you did it, for example, like, you lived in a dorm room in an attic was that at Dartmouth when you were at Dartmouth? Is that when you were in the attic?
Yeah.
So it's like you can't always live a fancy lifestyle. Just because you're an entrepreneur doesn't mean that now I'm an entrepreneur, now I'm going to go live this lavish lifestyle, because you'll drain the business. You'll suffocate the business. You can't grow that way.
No.
You did that when you were starting, even getting into the mastermind. You guys sold your house or rented out your house, lived in a small room with 5 other people in it, just so you could save the money, so you could join the mastermind, so you could start your business. I mean, you have to make those sacrifices. And, when things are tight, and if you're living off your business, you're not going to be able to look long term. You can't look 10 years down the road if you can't pay your rent that month.
Yep.
So making sure you're wise about where and how the money gets used. I think I'm actually shocked at how many people don't have financial literacy that get into business.
Yeah.
It's like that you should start there.
Yeah. That should be definitely part of your weekly learning for sure.
Yeah.
100%.
I go to some of these events, with like the APP event, for example. And I met the woman that runs Maven Financial, and she and I had a long conversation about the situations people get into from their finances that, and she just is like, it's wild. Like people have no pulse on what their actual financials are. So, that being said, when times are tough, the way to stay focused on 10 years down the road is not living off your business and really knowing your financials. Like, you gotta make smart financial decisions.
So that brings us to our last point, which is Jeff said or created a culture by design, not by default. And he said, good intentions don't work, mechanisms do. So what does he mean by that?
Well, to me, that sounds like systems and processes.
Yep.
You have to have a system for everything that you do. There needs to be a process that's scalable and you can replicate over and over and over. I think that just comes with simplicity. Things cannot be so difficult that they're inefficient. Like if something's inefficient within your business, it's going to become a bottleneck. Can't grow that way. And so culture is important. I do think that, but it's like that you can't build a culture if you don't have the systems in place. Because people aren't going to follow you anyway, because they're going to be confused. They're not going to know what their role is. They're not necessarily going to be set up for success. So in order to have all of those things, you need to have clarity. And that comes with simple systems and processes people can follow to continue to get great results.
Exactly. So he's done this very well in his culture, and in his corporate meetings, he has what's called the empty chair. So they have an empty chair there, and it symbolizes or represents the customer. Like, what would the customer think about what we're talking about right now? What would the customer think about what we're trying to do here? He has written memos instead of PowerPoints, which I did at our last corporate event. Instead of having a PowerPoint of what we're trying to do or what I'm trying to impart on Genesis 2.0, I just wrote a memo about it and quietly had everybody read it. So Jeff would write a memo for his corporate meetings, have his team read it. So there was no excuse that nobody saw the memo or understood the memo or whatever, had his team read it, and then they would discuss the memo afterwards. So it made meetings a lot more successful, pushed a lot more forward, etc. And then he also has the disagree and commit principle, which is the same principle that I tell my staff, and what I've told anybody who I've taught, especially even back to residency, is that if you're going to be wrong or if you're going to present an idea, have all the data and vehemently fight for that. And I tell the team now too, if you're going to come up with an idea, you better be ready to defend it against me, because I'm going to try and pick it apart. I'm going to fight you on it and whatever. And if you're right, you're right. We'll do it. If you're wrong, I'm going to pick you apart. And I don't know if we'll do a founders on Zuckerberg or whatever. That might be a good one to do. But that is one of the things that Zuckerberg, Musk, and I'm sure Bezos do, is that they knew that his team and his staff knew, and they talk about it all the time, that if you're going to bring an idea to them, they are going to argue with you about that because they know so much, or they're going to challenge you and argue for you to teach them about why they should do this or this or this idea. They are going to fight you on it, and you might win. But if you're going into that without any defense and without any reason, then you're going to lose. It's what I used to tell my medical students against their resident leaders as well as their physician leaders on the wards. If they felt really strongly about a certain diagnosis or a patient, then you better fight for it and you better speak up and don't be afraid to be wrong. You go down with 2 Uzis in your hand, strapped with bombs, riding a shark out of a fucking airplane. You go down, but you go down fighting, period. And if you're wrong, cool. You're wrong, you move forward. But if you fight that much for something and you're right, guess what? You did nothing but improve the patient's life. You did nothing but do something better. And it's going to be the same when it comes to business. If you're going to disagree, you commit to that disagreement. It's not like, I disagree, well, maybe blah, blah, blah. It's no, I disagree and this is what I'm going to do. In the book Good to Great, they talk about that. They talk about how the executive teams made the most money and grew the most, had the most discord amongst each other in meetings and discussions and arguments. Once they left the meetings, they were all on the same page and running in the same direction. So that's what Jeff was talking about and what he does in his business. He engineered the culture as being intentional, and to do that, he engineered the logistics around that culture. to create that.
You have made me stronger in business in that way because I actually, most of my life, lived to avoid conflict. And so I still am getting better at it. And I do know that when I present something to you, I have to have backup for what I'm telling you we should do. And so sometimes this is the good thing. I will hold off and I'm like, okay, let me get more data together. Let me clarify my own reasoning. Let me make sure this is the decision I want to make before I tell you, hey, this is what we're doing or this is what I did. Because you do that with me. And it's actually made me better in business. And it also has perpetuated me doing that with other people. But like, why are you doing it that way? And did you think through this or did you think through that? And it has that leadership skill, which I think it is when you can get people to think that far. That is getting passed on because I'm finding I replicate that same thing with people that are coming to me with things like, have you thought about this? Have you thought about, plus I know that when I bring it to you, you're going to ask me those things.
Right,
So I got to have
exactly.
all that stuff together. But I did hear Bezos say in a interview that he will put, this is how we're doing it. And in parentheses, unless you have a better way. And it always leaves people open to like, because he realizes he wants the collaboration. If somebody feels like they have a better way to do it, he wants to leave the door open for them to share. I think this is a better way to do it. But he sets that this is what we're doing, unless you have a better way.
Yep.
And then we'll consider that way,
Absolutely.
But yeah, so that's a nice way to kind of leave the door open, but still set the direction of where you want things to go. Jeff Bezos built Amazon by a complete refusal to be comfortable. And when we get comfortable being uncomfortable, it's a good place to be, especially in stretching to the next level. And his entire career is really proof that when you continue to push, you break those barriers and you move fast, that you can build incredible things. And he's got really great insight. Definitely a founder that we can learn a lot from.
Yeah. And for everyone listening, for everyone, following along, the difference between founders and everyone else out there, leaders and everyone else out there is that founders, leaders, they think in decades. They think in what is the impact of what we're doing today going to be in 10 years, 15 years, 20 years. Everyone else thinks what's what I'm doing today going to be on my paycheck in 2 weeks or my paycheck next month. Like if you can combine Bezos's paranoia, his patience, his precision into what you're trying to do, you don't just build a company, you're going to build something that absolutely outlives you, outgrows you, is beyond what you ever dreamed of. And that's just what we're doing with our businesses. That's what I'm doing with my businesses. And guys, it's day one.